days and pleasant nights, fellow travelers along the path of the beam. I am known on this level of the tower as Jaime and Fuego, and if it please you, join me here for a bit of palaver on Hail to Stephen King. That's right, just like this awesome tower of books that you see beside me, we have some very interesting discussion, i.e. palaver, as I mentioned, for this episode today as we head into the end of the year of 19. That's right, you can just call me Fuego for short, and I am super stoked as always for your presence here because we are giving a little bit of distinction to changes in the Dark Tower comics and releasing, publishing, all of this different stuff. And yes, this actually happened about a year ago, but it's something that, you know, initially I was thinking I was going to try to do like re-reviews of all of the Dark Tower comics this year, but to be pretty frank and fair with the just relaunch of my own personal channel in Fuegotainment and the fact that, you know, Star Wars basically took over my life this past year, didn't end up happening, you know, and that is obviously on just time maximizing and just between the horror show, between my own channel, between everything else that I do, between my band and, you know, so many other things and, you know, new person in my life relationally, it just wasn't in the proverbial cards for that to happen. But the big thing that I did want to give some distinction to is the fact that, yes, we have a new player in the Dark Tower comics, for better or for worse, and it is a subsidiary of SImon Schuster that is now actually going to be doing all of the publishing. Since Marvel, I'm not sure if the license lapsed or if they just, you know, had a particular window to continue producing, because initially the thing that we got, which Cecil and myself did a couple of reviews about, was this big monstrous tome that, if you've seen some of my like unboxings or some of my just going through everything that I have Stephen King collector-wise, yeah, this houses the first 5 volumes of the Dark Tower comic books. And so they were initially beginning to be published in 2007. We had The Gunslinger Born, which was 7 issues, and then we shifted into 4 other volumes, which included The Long Road Home, which included Treachery, which included the Fall of Gilead, and also included just the Battle of Jericho Hill, which, you know, a lot of the latter stuff, especially the Jericho Hill battle, which we got a tiny bit of described in some flashback like dream sequences in Wolves of the Kala, which is Dark Tower novel proper number 5. So much of what the back half of this series, and honestly not even the back half so much as like the second volume onward, it was so much more so just trying to flesh out stuff we had heard like little murmurings about and just to give it full distinctive stuff, or even tackling things that we had already heard about and just, you know, seeing it from a slightly different perspective, or, you know, different language being employed, whatever the hell it was. And this comic run really turned people on to the Dark Tower universe more so than maybe Marvel even anticipated. I mean, you had Peter Firth, who was actually scripting the book, and then he was working on notes from, Peter David, but you know, working on notes from Robin Firth, who was like Stephen King's official, I guess, Dark Tower biographer, you know, like fact checker, note taker, the one who just really keeps all of the details in this vast just myriad of characters and places and stuff just straight for him, you know. And I mean, he has often given supreme thanks to his constant consultants in so many of his books when he's basically covering things that he doesn't know a massive extent about. And so what better than with his most rich universe and like his biggest, most career-defining thing, you know, that the casual audiences will always point to, you know, The Shining and Pet Sematary and, you know, Salem's Lot, things like that. But I mean, for it, obviously, but I mean, for the hardcore CRs, the Tower junkies, the constant readers, it's always going to be those 8 novels, and with good reason. And so what better, especially as he is aging in his years, you know, bless his heart, and then much love to the man, and hopefully we get so much more as far as just amazing output in this twilight of his existence and stuff. But yeah, it's a very smart move to have somebody who's going to make sure you're keeping all your ducks in a row. There's no inconsistencies, you know, everything as far as, man, canon, I guess, goes, coming from all the Star Wars that I've watched and read, both comics and, you know, novels over the past of this year. Yeah, just in tow and according. And so, yeah, Robin Firth was behind just the initial, you know, like, story, like, scripting and stuff like that, and then it was actually, you know, properly written out by Peter. And I mean, Jai Lee, amazing art on his part in this first you know, volume, and then they segued into a couple other people in the back halves and stuff like that. But I mean, it's quite cool. It does speed through a lot of the stuff, especially in Wizard and Glass, because, you know, the Gunslinger Born, the initial one, and if you want like full just, you know, dissection, and I still am thinking about re-reviewing those first 2 that Cecil and I did, and then jumping back and, you know, giving proper consideration to the later volumes, which we never got the chance to cover because there was just too many other things going on here at the Horror Channel, at the, you know, horror show, as we continued to just, man, expand and grow and just have this awesome, humbling experience of continuing to cover the Spooktacular with all of you. But, yeah, it does skim over a lot. I mean, the first book combines Wizard and Glass and the stuff with, you know, Roland and Susan Delgado, along with all of the stuff that we get in the flashbacks in the original Gunslinger novel. And so, but it's all placed in timeline order, really. I mean, you still get the initial line of the, you know, the man in black fled across the desert, and Gunslinger followed, and all that, and, you know, it's as iconic as it gets in Psy King stuff, but it flashes back very quickly to him going against Court, his teacher, and trying to just, you know, become an official gunslinger, this official warrior in, you know, New Canaan, in this, you know, place of Gilead, where his father is a prominent person and everything, and his father being the, you know, youngest previously to gain that distinction, and then Roland even trying to one-up him in that regard because of some stuff going on with his mother. And but I'm not here to, like, review all of that. I'm just here to give all of you guys some more distinction. And so, yes, all of those issues were, you know, published in that 30-issue order with, you know, lots of awesome alternate covers and stuff like that. And they were all published and collected in separate volumes, both softcover and hardcover. But the best way to acquire it, if you can find it, I mean, is to go for this Marvel omnibus of these 2 hardcovers, because of the fact that there's one that houses the actual stories between those 5 volumes, and then the other one, which is this, like, companion of supplemental material. You have not only just recreations of all of those alternate covers, every single one, the black and whites, the different artists, all that different coolness, but you have so much of the supplemental stuff that was showing up in the back of some of these issues that was not initially reprinted for the smaller collections. And so you have stuff like Marilyn's Rainbow, which is very much going into all of those different orbs, you know, the pink one, Black 13, all that different stuff, the distinctions of power, and so on and so forth. And it goes into some very, very heady, deep stuff that King never even went to. That was him just giving free range to Robin Firth to, you know, plot out this stuff within proper King canon. And there's a ton of other awesome essays. You've got character bios from, you know, so many different people, both like larger and less important in this. And so this is amazingly collected. And I must admit, it's cool that since this SImon & Schuster kind of like takeover of sorts that transpired in 2018, I don't think they have properly republished this one just yet, but I do believe it's happening in May of 2020, so they have put back out and republished under their own imprint all of the different collected editions, and also a box set of all of those collected editions. But yeah, unfortunately, it still has not come to this yet, but while out of print, I think this one is still relatively easily accessible, and yes, it can be found on the eBays and the Amazon marketplaces and spots of that nature. Now, this is the one that was a little bit more elusive, and I should actually also give a little bit more of information that the one that I just pointed out to you and showed you guys, all of that young Roland stuff, that has been retitled since the repurchase Dark Tower Beginnings. So Beginnings obviously being, all the young Roland stuff that I've said so very much that I adore in various reviews here on Hail to Stephen King, and that ironically we don't have the Wind Through the Keyhole and all that radness, but that kind of came after the fact, so beggars can't be choosers in that regard. But yeah, so rebranding with the acquisition was what I just showed you, which is called Beginnings, because this volume, Dark Tower, the Gunslinger, is essentially like picking up right after the whole Battle of Jericho Hill. And I mean, there's even a character, if I recall correctly from my previous rereadings, that I didn't give actual review of just yet, or even in the years back when I initially did. Like we have people like crawling out of like trenches of dead bodies that have continued stories. I believe it's one girl in particular whose name is eluding me, because it's been quite a few years since I started this whole journey of reading everything King-wise, and it's been a long time since I've read the Dark Tower comics at this particular point, so ripe for a reread. But these books basically, and in a similarly collected omnibus, but as you can tell, nowhere near as thick, although it does still have the companion piece that it has all that cool stuff from David and Firth and the team and whatnot. But yeah, so this one essentially, it initially gives adaptations of actual fleeing across the desert with the Gunslinger, but then there's a flashback to the Little Sisters of the Eluria, which is an amazing story that was collected in Everything's Eventual, but it was initially published separately by Grant, if I'm not mistaken, and that's another one of my white whales here that I have been wanting to get a copy of for the longest time. Still haven't made the purchase because it's very pricey. But anyway, as things progress, it really does in turn start to adapt those different novellas that were eventually collected as the first Gunslinger book, the first Dark Tower book. And so you've got your stuff at the way station, you've got your Battle of Tull, you've got slow mutant stuff, and his crazy palaver with our Man in Black. And so yeah, it was very cool to have them do all of that and to just have that. And this is another one that it is still listed on the Wikipedia as being re-released by something Publishing 13. Man, I'm trying to remember exactly, but the subsidiary of the graphic novel specifically that we have from SImon Schuster. But it's you can get all of this information on Amazon and various other publishing spots, and also you can just get the play-by-play, like little bit by bit on Wikipedia and probably various other Stephen King wikis and stuff that are floating around. But this is going to be re-released as well, and you can get all of that just awesome adaptation while also filling in some of the blanks and some of like the questions and giving some characters like additional motivation and things of that nature. And that's the most fun that I think I had in all of the reads of the Dark Tower comics, whether it was the Gunslinger here, whether it was the rebranded Beginnings that I was just showing you initially. I mean, there's a ton to take into consideration, and it's great that we're actually getting them back in print, since SImon Schuster has them under their like proverbial umbrella once again, which is supremely cool and gives the opportunity to hopefully not have to spend as much, because I mean, this had a very low print run because Marvel was like even wondering if they were going to continue doing Dark Tower comics, and I mean, whereas I got Beginnings, as it's now called, and the first bigger, omnibus for a very reasonable price. I think I spent for something even smaller, as you can see, I spent about twice that on eBay, and that was in a bidding session too. So, it was less than $100 for the first, and this one was way way over 200. So, you know, I'm still supremely happy to actually have it and have it in this particular collectible variety. And yes, it's still cool that, you know, there will be the opportunity for those who just don't want to fork out these extravagant, nasty amounts. If you just want awesome storytelling, collectability, that there will be the opportunity. That's a big thing for me. And while I didn't find quite as much fulfillment in this one as I did with what's now called Beginnings, those first 5 volumes, I still thought this one was very, very cool. I didn't like the changing of the artists that we got, but the writing is still sound, and I don't know if I can credit Firth for it or David for it, but I mean, just the high speech, like kind of just Dark Tower talk that we get in this, especially from our narrator, it's just very engaging, and it pulls you in and really leads you to believe that you are in, you know, in-world, mid-world, you know, the possibility of end-world, and, you know, the good man and all the nastiness that is transpiring in the first volume, and then the aftermath, which is what we discover in this one, and, you know, more of the personal quest as opposed to having the extended cast. And that's a good segue into the fact that the extended cast is where we get the one volume where we still don't have hardcovers yet. And that is when they decided to go the drawing of the 3. This was originally not even going to be transpiring, but there was enough moderate success from the second series of collections that they were just like, you know what? This is where it gets especially interesting, obviously, with, you know, Susanna coming in and Eddie Dean, and also, even though he's not until the 3rd book in his return, you know, with Jake and whatnot, he does pop up at the end of this, and so, I mean, you have only soft covers of these, at least for now. So you've got 2 Eddie books, which are The Prisoner and which are House of Cards, and they expand on some of his addiction, some of his exploits, some interesting additional stuff with his older brother, and then you also get 2 different volumes that entail Ms. Odetta, you know, I mean, the various names of our wonderful lady who eventually became Susanna, that, you know, is our awesome, you know, legless lady. And so, yeah, you've got Bitter Medicine, and then you also have this Lady of the Shadows business, which is very dope. And but it all comes full circle with what felt to me like just a bridging into what would have been a 4th series with, you know, covering the Wastelands, and obviously going on to, there's only about a quarter-ish of a book that you can cover with Wizard and Glass because of the fact that all the rest has already been just kind of streamlined in the very first Beginnings volume, as it's now called. But yeah, the Sailor, this is where our whole team is together, and, you know, everyone has been drawn, and so on and so forth. And these are all soft cover currently, and unfortunately the Marvel license reverted to, you know, SImon and Schuster by the time they were planning and trying to at least get together an omnibus to encompass all of this amazing creativity that transpired here. But the cool thing is that it was announced just recently, after, I think, the most recent omnibus, which would have been the Beginnings one that they put out. It was either that or the box set, I can't recall, but there's just so many release dates. It's absolute bonkersness. But they are going to start releasing all of these in hardcover form, finally. If that's a precursor to a massive omnibus collection from, you know, SImon and Schuster, that would be badassness. But the only deets that we have, at least thus far, everybody, is the fact that on March 24th, we are going to be getting none other than The Prisoner, this very first one, in a hardcover form. It's already listed on Amazon. You can pre-order it right now, and you can just get ahead of the game if you want. And I think there's even a few listings for some of the later books as well on there. But awesome cover, you know, with the monkey on his back and everything, and it just looks super dope. I enjoy very, very much Eddie Dean's backstory and his entire angle in the drawing of the 3. I have gone on record to say I'm not as big on the, you know, Jack Moore and Odetta stuff, you know, Odetta, you know, versus, so to speak, spy versus spy. But, you know, nonetheless, this book, it still has, you know, Firth, if I'm not mistaken, I should probably double check, but I pretty much... Let's just take a closer look very, very quickly. The art is fantastic in this as well, despite the fact that they started... Yeah, so the plotting and the consultation is still Firth, script is still Peter David, and this was the one, if I'm not mistaken, where they started basically changing it up with different artists like constantly, as opposed to keeping the consistency. And I guess maybe one of the reasons why I still look back so fondly on Beginnings, as it's now called, is the fact that, you know, Jaime did an amazing job, and I like his style so much. It's obviously, as an Asian man, it's got kind of a manga type style, but it's like very much entrenched in the shadows. There's a lot of panels where characters are like, you can't even see their faces because of it's like just black, you know. You can see indentations, you can see like Miss Delgado's hair color and stuff, but I don't know, after we lost that visual style, the storytelling never lost its luster, but seeing these tales told in a visual format, it set a precedent very, very highly that inevitably just kind of bummed me out just to the slightest degree. But that is something to look forward to, is the fact that we are finally getting hardcovers of all of these. And yes, I think it is time for me to just, should I review them just segment by segment as far as like each arc, or should I do volume by volume? I don't know. Cecil and I were originally doing volume by volume with what is now called Beginnings, you know, between The Long Road Home and The Gunslinger Born. Both of those have been sitting on the channel since way before Hail to Stephen King even became a thing. So I don't know, that's where I need input from all of you guys, because as I end the third year of this show, as I start, you know, a new decade, a new year, all these different things, I honestly want more input once again from all of you as to what you think would be cool to cover besides the proverbial anniversary, the book of the month, which book of the month, just to let everybody know, once again, reminder, because next Saturday is going to be the live stream and the big spoiler discussion all about it, The Talisman, yes, for its, oh boy, what is it, 35th anniversary, god damn, yeah, that's some serious stuff. But, I don't know, what do you guys think this program should continue? Should it just maintain the course? Should it go more so into just more frequent reviews of things, you know, breaking things down episode by episode? That's what I was doing with The Mandalorian on my own particular channel. Or do you prefer more like all-encompassing, you know, just season-ending collection type reviews when it comes to Psy King stuff? I don't know. I had a lot of mixed feelings after my last episode where I talked about whether the year of 19 was like kind of showing that this King Assance is concluding. And that's not to say that his popularity with all of us, the Tower Junkies, the CRs, the people who have been following him for years and years, decades in fact for many, yeah, but I don't know, is the mainstream easing up on King now that, you know, there is not another It movie coming, now that there's nothing confirmed film-wise for, you know, 2020, there's a few things that may be coming, but no locked release dates, and really just a scant amount of, you know, television like, you know, The Stand, CBS All Access. So if you want all of those thoughts, please check out my video, which is in the Stephen King themed playlist. But I guess that is going to be the end of things, at least for a quick moment. But I was very blessed to have another unboxing, my first in a while. I have to give major thanks to, you know, previous people who have sent me things, you know, like Nick and Scott and, you know, and Rob, and I mean, lots of amazing just CRs and dedicated members of the Hail to Stephen King Ka-Tet, which to give a big shout out to the Facebook group where there is so much constant awesome palaver on that page. It's really the only thing that gets me on Facebook a lot of the time, aside from, you know, just keeping up on all the different fan pages and stuff that I, you know, run for Chiron, my band, and for Infotainment, and, you know, as an admin on the horror show and stuff like that. But really, more so than anything, it's being just, I don't know, the din, as people call me from time to time, but I still feel uncomfortable. with that term. I'm just happy that all of you are there and having this rad status discussion and enjoying each other's, you know, palaver even more so than my own interactions, because I was just trying to, you know, just, I don't know, bring happy people together to have, you know, respectful discussion and all kinds of coolness in that regard. But yeah, yes, Rachel Nason. She is a friend from the Great White North who sent me something that was not a Christmas gift as she specified, but it was a Year of 19 gift. So she is the ever rocker of badass Stephen King nails, as we first became homies on the Instagrams, I think it was, specifically when she had like discovered a Hail to Stephen King video or two or something. But she had these like badass like Dark Tower like claws that were so detailed in all of the art on each individual nail a lot of the time. I don't know. She is definitely a tower junkie of the highest regard, and one that I have a lot of respect for, and that I am so supremely stoked that she decided to send this, not a holiday gift, but a Year of 19 gift. So Rachel, I extend, you know, I say thank you early on. I am seeing this is a bit of cloth. I feel like it is something I am supposed to, oh wow. This is something I am supposed to prominently display, I would imagine, on the new Hail to Stephen King set that will be coming for the 200th episode. But check this out, peeps. I'm assuming she made this herself. This is probably like some serious sewing action. I am in awe of the rosiness, I guess, that we are seeing here. This could probably go on my couch, though. I think it would, in all honesty, be a better destination for it. But what y'all really have to see is just the distinction of this little individual rose right there. That is rad status cool. But man, it is like a Crimson King eye with like a little rose on there, or it's just a full-on rose. I don't know. It's cold season here in Arizona because we can't deal with the cold, and if the mind is a little scatterbrained, but I am pretty positive that this is indeed a beautiful rose. And man, Rachel, thank you so much. Gracias. Danke, arigato, merci, all of that awesomeness. I can't remember the last time someone besides my rad status great grandmother knitted me something, if that is in fact the case, if this was not store-bought and you're a faker. But I would never contend that is the case. You seem supremely crafty, madam. So thank you so very much. Thank you to everybody who has been supportive of this program over the course of this past year. And man, and just since the beginning, you know, it's interesting how this Ka-Tet has grown, and just the support is humbling and honoring and supremely cool. And I don't know, despite the presumed regression, I'm still extremely excited for a new decade of King. You know, the Year of 19 was prolific, obviously, with television and with, you know, film and the Institute coming out, and, you know, even some collected stories of Joe Hill in Full Throttle that I did a review of. But yes, If It Bleeds next year, and you know, The Stand and everything else. If you want to see my full thoughts, once again, that is the Stephen King Assance concluding. That was my just kind of question that I purported, but I don't know. I have to find some awesome place to get this displayed. Rachel, you're awesome. Thank you so very much. This is rad status, absolutely awesomeness, and I cannot thank you enough. That it will definitely warm this home. Even though us desert dwellers are total wimps when it gets cold, it's not anything of the, you know, Canadian comparison. But yes, it shall be you know, lovingly utilized, I suppose. So I've been Jaime and Fuego. Y'all can find moi on all social media sectors like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, but not just here on The Horror Show. We do have a big live stream that's going on Sunday where it's going to be a 30,000+ subscriber thank you. We're going to be also putting up our best of the year stuff. So best of the year, worst of the year, looking ahead to the new year. That's going to be a lot of fun. But I do also have my own personal YouTube channel where I did all of the aforementioned Star Wars coverage this past year, but also reviews of some of my favorite films of 2019, including Knives Out, The Art of Self-Defense, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Wild Rose, Good Boys. I mean, yes, there's so much rad status stuff that I have got the chance to check out, and it was an honor to just relaunch that channel, start to put my efforts back into it. Aside from all of the Star Wars stuff that I mentioned, that includes retro reviews of so much stuff. My Rise of Skywalker review is on there, as well as a spoiler discussion with Cecil that has just gone up. But comics, novels, you know, all kinds of different things. So please, porfa y gracias, if you are inclined, check out my personal channel, and I'm going to leave a link to it in the comments below. But lastly, aside from the awesomeness here on our Spooktacular Horror Show, I also, every Monday evening, provided there is not sickness or scheduling conflicts, which, hey, it's the real world. These things happen sometimes. But on the Willis Screedia YouTube channel, myself, with CP, who is the mastermind behind Willis Screedia, along with Lindsay Mimsy, as I belovedly refer to him. Yes, he has his own channel called My 2 Cents of Nonsense. He's out in LA, but the three of us get together. We talk about weekend box office numbers, both of the before and looking ahead. And yes, it's called Show Business, hashtag Show Business, and every Monday providing 9 p.m. Eastern and 6 p.m. Pacific. So I've been Fuego. Y'all have been rad status, awesome. Say thank you. And say thank you to Rachel Nason, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name properly, girly, because we've only had correspondence on the interwebs, but it was a very sweet and awesome gift, and I greatly appreciate it. But I've been Fuego, y'all have been awesome, and until the Wheel of Ka comes around once more, I shall say hasta luego, sen amigos, and constant readers and viewers alike. But I'm hopeful that we get to share a much awesomer bit of this palaver sooner rather than later. And until that instance occurs, everybody remember to stay scared and read Stephen King, most notably The Talisman, if you want to charge through something in a week, because yes, next Saturday, that's right, we are going all live about The Talisman.